Hey, and welcome to The Solid Verbal. Now would be a perfect time to consider subscribing. Yeah, that little subscribe button for year-round premium college football content. That's it. Here's the video. Enjoy. Subscribe.
Welcome back to The Solid Verbal, boys and girls. My name is Ty Hildebrandt, that fine gentleman over there, as always. My illustrious co-host, Dan Rubenstein. That is your name, sir. How are you?
I'm good. Long weekend, not in a great way. Because for me, with small children, a long weekend means a lot of work with The Solid Verbal, which I treasure and love, and then no weekend. There's no weekend. Then it was hanging out with the kiddos, which is the greatest thing ever, but it's exhausting. No breaks. Can't complain. Life is good, but I'm complaining a little bit because I'm tired and I'm a little bit cranky, and I watched my team lose 49-3. And I'm still trying to make sense of everything, Ty. But other than that, it's beautiful outside. I have a great action-packed day ahead of me. How are you?
I am good as well. I'm excited to be back here. We actually have two other games to recap that we could not recap when we recorded our last show on Sunday. We'll talk about LSU, Florida State, and of course about Clemson and Georgia Tech, which was played on Monday evening. We've also got a fun little game, Dan. Fun little game. We're going to jump to conclusions after week one and I guess week 0, the limited sample size we had in week 0, and just based on a very limited amount of data, draw some, I would say, profound conclusions. That's what we do here on The Solid Verbal. So hope everybody is strapped in and ready for that. College football season is now in full swing. This episode, all of our episodes driven by our good friends over at Geico. If you are just finding The Solid Verbal for the first time, hi, I'm Dan. I'm Ty.
Hold
Dan.
on. Stealing my identity 6 minutes into this recording session. It's okay. Muscle
memory getting in my way here. Subscribe to the show. Subscribe to the show if you have yet to do so. We would love to have you as part of our Verballerhood. We put out, at least publicly, episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. In addition to, when do we do episodes now? I'm getting all mixed up.
Who is to say? So we are releasing our recap episodes publicly on Mondays, Sundays, early access at verballers.com, our recap episodes. We're releasing Wednesday news and analyses and big picture discussion on Wednesdays publicly, Tuesdays on verballers.com for early access, and our weekly preview shows are Thursdays to the public, 6 a.m. Eastern, Wednesdays early access on verballers.com for everybody who's juicing for new content while they're doing the dishes or working on their traps at the gym, something. That's where you can get those early. And then Spotify is Thursday evening. Our fully ad-free Q&A is Thursday midday. I don't think we release anything Friday, but we're always on call and ready. We're doing live stuff on Saturday, not live, but we're doing reaction stuff on Saturdays. I don't know. Just go to youtube.com/thesolidverbal and I don't know. Find us wherever. Use Google.
You use the Google. Yeah, we put the Spotify archive out on Friday mornings as well. So if you are interested in eating from this college football content cow, we've got you covered. 5, 6, 7 days a week. I don't even know how many.
The content trough is overflowing.
Subscribe to the show. Go on out to verballers.com to get access to some of those bonus perks that Dan mentioned. Again, verballers.com is our Patreon. Should we recap some of the games?
The Jared Verse Celebration Variety Hour. Let's talk.
Hit that trumpet there. Let's talk about FSU and LSU. They played this game on Sunday evening, and it was a close one. 24-23. Florida State gets the dub. Here's what went down. LSU's Jaden Daniels connected with Jaray Jenkins in the back of the end zone on the final play of the game to set up an extra point that clearly was going to tie it at 24 apiece. For the second time in the game, LSU had a kick blocked. The extra point in this case that would have tied it and sent it to overtime. Florida State wins by a 24-23 score. This is a big deal. What a wild finish to this game, Dan. As you might expect, given the nature of how LSU lost, there was a lot of hand-wringing after the fact. this, I think, is interesting on top of the fact that because they had this one extra point blocked, because they had a kick block earlier in the game, because they had 2 muffed punts at various points throughout the game, special teams definitely came into focus for all the wrong reasons for LSU under the new Brian Kelly regime. We both watched this game. Jade Daniels did get the start. He was pretty much the entire offense, which is very typical for Brian Kelly.
Yeah.
Jane Daniels, 209 and 2 touchdowns through the air, had 114 on the ground. LSU faced a lot of pressure from Florida State's defensive line. Jared Verse, my guy, Jared Verse. Oh, I love him. Made a big impact in this game for the Noles. What do you think here? What was your takeaway from this game?
Okay, one, Jaden Daniels is a starting quarterback for LSU. We did not know that definitively going into, I guess, the week as a whole, but into the game, obviously, we knew pretty quickly in the lead up that it was going to be Jaden Daniels. A lot of the issues that we were told or had been reported about LSU's offensive line taking a significant step forward from where they were last year with their struggles, but adding promising youth, still sort of came to bear. Still similar issues for LSU up front. So let's start with LSU because I suppose they're the bigger story with the new high-profile head coach, your guy Brian Kelly.
My guy.
Jaden Daniels did an admirable job trying to run for his life and picking up yardage and improvising, especially, early on, late in the game, obviously, down a couple scores late and driving LSU down the field. And as you said, sort of being the offense, existing as the offense. Keyshawn Boutte was not involved until late. I'm sure Florida State paid a ton of attention to him. And yeah, your guy Noah Kane couldn't get really going on the ground for LSU, the transfer from Penn State.
He's your guy, not my guy.
I'm a Kevon Lee guy. You know that. And it was a masterclass in having a blind spot. And I'd seen somewhere on social media that the first thing that Bill Parcells did in taking over a floundering franchise in the NFL, let's get special teams right. If you fix special teams and you button things up and you can change field position and you can kick some field goals and some extra points, you're already ahead of the game. And LSU special teams, it was Malik Neighbors who was muffing situations in the punt return game. 2 muffed punts, a blocked field goal, and obviously the game losing would have been a game tying extra point when LSU furiously drove down the field. They miss that, or they get it blocked. They just the kick protection team was rough. So a lot to go back to the drawing board for LSU in terms of attention to detail. Not a great reflection on Brian Kelly because he comes in as this professional head coach, right? That he is the guy who is going to come in with all of Ed Orgeron's shortcomings in attention to detail and losing the culture of the team. Brian Kelly is that guy who is just single-minded and is going to right that ship. Special teams was a nightmare. On the other side, unless you want to jump in with some LSU takes.
No, I just think it'll be interesting to see how this unfolds because you lose like this, and especially when you've got this high-profile coaching move in the offseason. We'll see how it goes. It's not an easy schedule the rest of the way for LSU, right? And with the amount of money he's being paid and the pressure he is under, you could see things going sideways if there are a few more instances like this. Folks made a lot about Keyshawn Boutte and some others scrubbing all references to LSU in their social media. Are they transferring?
Well, whatever.
They're not transferring. Everyone pumped the brakes a little bit, but you could see things like I compared it to you, and I don't know if you get the reference or not, but the "Don't Worry, Darling" situation going on now in pop culture.
Yeah, I don't.
You could see things going very sideways with Brian Kelly, especially given the fact that this is not a guy who comfortably takes accountability for things going wrong.
Right.
He's very good at deflecting. That's what he's good at. But we'll just see if things improve, especially against this SEC West schedule. Yeah, things could get kind of dicey if we do not see a more buttoning up of at least special teams for LSU.
By the way, the what Brian Kelly's making salary-wise, to me, has no bearing on this. Any high-profile coach LSU would have gone out and gotten would have commanded between $8 and $10 million. And Brian Kelly just happens to be that guy. So, defensively, they played pretty well. Jordan Travis, if we can talk about the Noles for a second, let's talk about those Noles.
Let's talk about the Noles. I will save some of my comments around Florida State and Jordan Travis for the next portion of the show where we jump to conclusions. But let me just say that the Florida State offense looked quick.
Yeah.
It looked on time.
Mm-hmm.
The line, which has gotten a ton of criticism over the last decade now, the line held up pretty well, despite the fact that LSU was trying to bring some pressure.
Yeah.
And I was probably very wrong about Jordan Travis. Jordan Travis in this game looked awesome. He missed like one pass in the third quarter.
Yeah.
The rest of it, he knew what to do every time he got the ball. He was quick, he was efficient, and he was the reason that I came away from this game feeling so optimistic about Florida State moving forward. He looked really good to me.
Yeah, offensive line got a full S, satisfactory grade. Not an issue. Look, Florida State tried to lose this game. When you let a team march down, I don't know how much time was left when they were up 24-10. You can tell me, you can look at it, 4.5 minutes, up 2 touchdowns. That's not great. That's not ideal when you're clunkers, the way that your defense sort of changed things up and went more prevent at the end of the game. Prevents you from winning a lot of the time. So you're right about Jordan Travis. And he dealt with drops that were not fully his fault, of course. The offensive line has certainly got better. Couldn't really run the ball, Florida State. Neither one of these teams ran the ball tremendously well, but that's, again, not on him necessarily. Yeah, he's a gamer. For him, it's also going to be a health thing. It's just, can he stay healthy for 12 games? Can he avoid contact? Can he slide? Can he get out of bounds? Can he put himself and the offense in a position to shine all year long as Florida State is looking to go to a bowl game? That's the first step on the journey back to respectability for the Noles. And defensively, look, on all three levels, guys were making plays. Absolutely. This is a team that is a much more well-oiled machine than the LSU program at the moment, and it showed. It was, guys in the secondary, the linebackers, especially that front, which, honestly, it took a pretty good step forward last year. But Jared Verse, who, your Great Dane of a defensive end.
Oh, man. I love him. I love him.
A playmaker. Is just an absolute monster and should be against basically every single ACC offensive line that the Noles face. And when you have that kind of gravitational weapon on the line, I don't know who the apt comparison will be. If you look nationally at some of the better edge rushers we've seen the past few years, it changes the calculus for your defense. All of a sudden, the interior of your line gets some more opportunities. You don't have to blitz as much. Yeah. You can keep guys back in coverage. And so that's why these guys are so coveted in the portal and on the recruiting trail. And so if Jared Verse is the next version of, in this case, Jermaine Johnson for Florida State, what an enormous win for the Noles moving forward. And so they won their clunker because that fourth quarter, you'd like to get some of those moments back. They won their clunker, 2-0, onward.
Yeah, and they've got a bye week now after playing week 0 and week 1. We've said it before. I'm sure we'll say it again. It is a tough schedule, but if they look this good, even in times of despair, call it a clunker. A clunker against LSU where you come out as the victor is a pretty good deal.
In New Orleans,
pretty good deal. So if they look this part, let's say, moving forward, making a bowl is not going to be a problem. The version of the team that we saw on Sunday, despite the fact that fourth quarter, some warts, despite the fact that, couldn't run the ball, whatever, this version of this team is making a bowl probably before the end of October.
Can I put on my very small childhood Florida State fandom garnet and gold hat for a moment?
Sure.
Here, shout out Peter Warwick, of course. Here's who Florida State has coming up, Ty. Team who lost to Syracuse, team who lost to Rutgers, team who may not have their starting quarterback, team who tried to actively lose to East Carolina, team who was weirdly close to Georgia Tech late, Georgia Tech itself, Miami with a new coach who wants to throw it less with Tyler Van Dyke. Okay. Syracuse, who I'm just on that train, Louisiana first-year coach.
Syracuse, sure.
And what we think will be a good Florida team who could have lost very easily to Utah. So you say tough schedule. I put on my garnet and gold glasses. I see opportunity, Ty.
Hold that thought.
Sorry, thank you, Ryan Gosling.
Hold that thought. The only other point, that I wanted to bring up about LSU, Mason Smith, along the line, torn ACL, out for the year, which is a bummer for the Bayou Bengals. Let's talk about Clemson and Georgia Tech, though.
Let's.
This game played on Labor Day, Monday evening. 41-10 is the final score. If you are passing through, if you did not watch this game, you'll see 41-10 and say that's about right.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, I had Georgia Tech under 13.5 total team points, and I felt wonderful about that. Wonderful about that bet when I saw it, and it ended up cashing. So thank you, Georgia Tech. The bigger point, though, if you dug in, if you watch this game, even if you go back and rewatch, is that this was a 7-point game.
Yeah.
Until about a minute left in the third quarter, Dan.
Yeah.
And to that end, it's not like we expected Georgia Tech to be great on offense, and certainly they were not. 2 of 10 on third downs, going up against a defense that might be the best in college football. They were overmatched. Surely overmatched along the line. But 17-10 late in the third quarter against Georgia Tech.
Mm-hmm.
Given the turnover that Clemson had on offense with their coordinator leaving to take over at Virginia, given some of the outstanding questions about DJU, some of the issues that they had along their offensive line last season. Like, I don't know if we really got answers to any of those questions, Dan, in week one. Clemson started off, I thought, in a bit of a stagnant state. They warmed up later.
Yeah.
But I did not necessarily come away from this one feeling any higher degree of confidence with the Clemson Tigers as they go into the rest of their schedule in week 2 and beyond. Did you?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you have that defense, and look, they won 10 games with the Bowl last year with this very similar defense. Granted, different coordinator, and there's changes on that staff, but I don't know what's changed between last week and this week in terms of how we're evaluating Clemson, unless from what you saw from Cade Klubnik late gives you reason to believe that, you know, he'll be taking over in October or something like that and shine in a way that DJU doesn't regularly. Yeah, watching this game. So Clemson gets a punt block that sets up they get to like the 6-yard line and they need all 4 downs to put it in without passing the ball. They didn't trust DJU in the goal line to throw it there. He looked better at times, but it's Georgia Tech. He looked better. They needed 4 attempts to run it in. They ran it in with Will Shipley on 4th down, I believe, on that drive to set up that touchdown. It seemed like they tried running it a good amount with DJU, which for game 1 against a team that you're supposed to be much better than, you probably wouldn't put him in harm's way as a quarterback. I know he's big and can handle hits. Certainly looked better at times, hit throws down the field, looked more confident more often, but at the same time in some bigger third downs, looked a little bit lost. And Georgia Tech played some good defense, and there were tight windows that he probably should have confidently thrown into more often than he did. He took a couple sacks there, which is better than interceptions. But I don't know. They couldn't really run the ball all that consistently against Georgia Tech, and Tech moved the ball. They made mistakes. They were never going to really score 20, 30 points against Clemson probably. But you mentioned the offensive coordinator and Tony Elliott leaving. I scored, 13, 14 points against Georgia Tech last year? So 41's an improvement. 41 is better than that.
Yeah.
I'm just, you know what I came away with? My general conclusion, which I know we're going to get to a conclusion segment of this show, was they're going to win a bunch of games. And then if they're counting on DJU to carry them against a really good team in a big ACC spot, an ACC championship game, a big bowl game, a playoff game, whatever, they're going to get drilled. They're absolutely not going to be able to count on him to lead this team downfield consistently against Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, whoever, if that's the situation they find themselves. Like, there is a definitive ceiling to what they are offensively with DJU.
They're not going to get drilled by anybody because of their defense. Their defense is really good, but I think the larger point that they can't count on him to carry the offense is very valid. And what I would like to see from people who go through the play-by-play data is whether or not this was a situation of DJU being tardy with the football.
Yeah.
Not getting it out on time, or if guys were just covered, because there were plenty of replays that they showed in that game. Nobody was open. So we need to wait and see, get a little bit more data on perhaps how DJU has progressed in the offseason. We did see Cade Klubnik. Now, for whatever it's worth, and for whatever you make of our friends over at PFF, in his 6 garbage time passes, Cade Klubnik was the highest rated offensive player on the Clemson offense. He's definitely a different kind of player. He's a little bit more mobile. He seemed, at least in very limited action, confident running the offense. Again, limited sample size. You can't take it purely at face value.
Right.
But there was plenty of commentary during the game talking about Cade Klubnik. Perhaps more folks wanting to join me on the club level. If you'd like to join the club level, Verballers.com is where you can go. We can talk about it. Maybe we'll start a channel in Discord where we can just be out there and open about being on the club level.
Yeah.
I am on the record with I am on the club level. I am ready for Cade Klubnik, but he came in. It's at least good to have a capable backup.
Yeah.
That was not something that Clemson necessarily had a whole lot of last season. So at least to have some depth there at the quarterback position is definitely a good thing for Dabo Swinney. But
he made more plays, to be clear. What I try to judge a quarterback on when I watch is, what does your 5th best throw of the game look like? What does your 7th best throw of the game look like? And DJU's, he's going deeper in terms of his 4th, 5th, 6th best throw over the course of a game is downfield and confident and pretty good. Still not crazy successful relative to where Clemson has been, where they expect to be. It's hard to see them as a top 20 offense in the nation. It's hard to see them as a top 30 offense at times in the nation, which, given their goals, once again, that's not good enough.
No. Well, look, the offensive line faced pressure.
Yeah.
Even from Georgia Tech, from lowly Georgia Tech, faced pressure. And Cade Klubnik, I think, is more mobility. And so if this is a recurring theme where teams bring pressure, how does DJU deal with that? Dealt okay with it last night. I do think Klubnik's a little bit more mobile, more athletic, as they said, as Dusty said on the broadcast.
Yes and no. I mean, he's definitely smaller. DJ can move, and they call, set runs for him, and, he was impressive on the ground running the ball. So in a number of ways, it's probably better to be that size and be able to rush for 7 yards on 3rd and 3. But, man, I don't know. It's game 1. Lot to improve upon. But, if you're winning your clunker 41-10, how many shells can I launch at you?
Shall we play the game?
Sure.
It would be this mat that you would put on the floor and would have different conclusions that you could jump to.
Dan, it's our jump to conclusions game. Time for you and I to look at all the action in week 0 and week 1 and jump to some way too early conclusions. I've got a handful in front of me. I know you've got a handful in front of you as well. I think you're also thinking about it a little bit longer term in that not just conclusions for this season, but perhaps Siri reminders that you'd like to set in advance of the 2023 season.
Yep.
Things that you've seen already after 1.5 weeks of college football action that you just want to remind yourself of a year from now.
Well, it's more just how we look ahead to week 1. It's very challenging. I mean, the main reminder is, do you have a new coach? Is he in a spot where he is going to take on with his new team a huge situation like, I don't know, a Georgia, a Utah, a Florida State, any of those types of teams? Pump some brakes on how confident you are.
Except
in week
if it's
1.
Billy Napier. Except if it's Billy Napier.
Again, I said Utah, and Florida and Billy Napier did a good chunk of things to lose that game. The loss was...
They won, though. They did win.
The loss was very much on a clean plate in front of them on the table.
So you've been doing this thing all weekend, and I don't really like it.
Okay, tell me.
I don't really like it because we talk about a team winning.
Yes.
And you're like, but they tried to lose. Did they lose? Did Florida lose?
They went ahead with 1.5 minutes left. They tightened up on defense in the red zone, as Utah themselves didn't do much in the red zone. I'm just saying they won their clunkers, which is a great thing against a very good team with playoff expectations and major quote unquote, conference championship expectations in Utah. God, it hurts as a Pac-12 fan. I'm not gonna lie, it hurts these past few days.
That was an own goal, but I appreciate it.
But there was a lot to be desired from this Florida defense getting pushed around a good amount. Utah's own defense did a good job against Anthony Richardson a lot of the time.
They did win, though. Florida did win that game,
and that's great.
29-26.
Win your games, win your clunkers, win your pseudo-clunkers, whatever. I'm just saying a loss was on the table. Florida didn't win that game 28-14. That's all I'm saying. Okay. So you asked me for 3 to 5 conclusions to jump to. Yes?
Jump to him.
I've got
jump
12.
to him. It's on the mat. You can jump to him.
I have
whatever.
a dozen.
A dozen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got an even dozen.
Give me one.
All right. I'm buying more James Madison stock. Give me those Dukes, Ty. That's where we're starting at the top. Who's stopping these Dukes? They have a quarterback. They've got winning DNA. Moving on up. I'm just saying. I'm telling you right now, early September, go JMU. Okay. So we'll go more in detail about some other teams.
Can I offer? Well, continue. I will offer you an interesting factoid that may only interest me.
That's okay.
A little bit later on. Continue.
I'm buying early. I'm buying down on Utah, even though I just don't think the Pac-12 has much in the way of defensive resistance, and I think they're still going to win a lot of games and end up in a really nice postseason spot. So I know, the way that they lost and their red zone opportunities. My conclusion with Utah is they're just as good as I thought they were last week, and it's going to get easier. So that's a conclusion on the Utes. I'm still with them, if not scooping up some stock, as maybe perhaps some people are selling on the Utes. I'm buying more Michigan stock based on week 1.
Are you?
I'm buying more Michigan stock because it's becoming clearer and clearer to me that the Cade McNamara experiment is just that. It is just an experiment, and it is just a motion exercise to get J.J. McCarthy healthier and in there and saying, well, we gave Cade a shot. And it just seems like that's the road we're heading down. And with how well he looked to be running that offense, and me forgetting a couple of names on that offense. Oh, yeah, he's still there. Oh, yeah, Roman Wilson. Oh, yeah, Donovan Edwards. I think it was Colorado State, new coach, whatever. But Michigan looked like an excellent team should look like in week 1 as a well-oiled machine coming off of a playoff experience. And that's all I just wanted that. I wanted look like they should have looked. And so I'm not fully stocking up. I'm not stuffing my pantry full of Michigan stock, but I've made more peace with what I think they're trying to do in getting J.J. McCarthy in as that full-time guy. So that is a direction I'm going with Michigan.
Okay. By the way, your guy, Todd Centio,
yeah,
the starting quarterback for James Madison, I just wanted to double check, but I referenced the PFF stat earlier. Todd Centio, the highest graded passer through 1.5 weeks. In all of college football, whatever it's worth.
Somebody has $80.
I've got Florida State beating Clemson and going 10-2.
Florida State is going to beat Clemson and go 10-2 based on the conclusion you're drawing on their two games.
Yes.
Okay.
If we are jumping to very quick conclusions, I am hitching my wagon to Florida State.
Oh, God.
We've been waiting for this moment. We've been waiting for this team to feel like it turns a corner at some point under Mike Norvell. Got off to a rocky start in 2020 with some off-field stuff. Last season, a start from hell, pulled it together nicely down the stretch, and now off to a 2-0 start here to start the season. They beat Duquesne week 0, whatever. But the LSU win, try as they might to lose in spots, still comes out as a dub on the final tally sheet. I thought Jordan Travis looked awesome. And I wanted to take this time to issue a bit of a mea culpa.
I'm ready. Hold on. Let me sit up straight, crack my neck, because I told you. Continue.
It could be that Ty was just uninformed.
Yeah.
Underinformed. Whatever the word is on Jordan Travis. It could be that I was asleep at the wheel here. And he looked really good to me, Dan. He looked really good to me. Like I said, I counted 1 pass, maybe 2 passes that were really bad. Everything else seemed like it was confident. It was on time. He knew what he was doing. He wasn't dilly-dallying around back there. He's obviously mobile, a true dual threat, as some would say, in this offense. And I think that is the kind of system, if executed well, that you need to beat a Clemson because of their speed along the front 7 and especially their talent along that defensive line. You need a guy who can move, right? Tyler Van Dyke is good, but Tyler Van Dyke, as compared to Jordan Travis, definitely more of a statue. Jordan Travis can move. He can get outside the pocket. This is a guy that, he's been in this system for a couple of years. He knows what he's doing, and I thought it showed. So for my money, and because of the schedule that definitely looked harder 2 weeks ago than it does now. I feel really good about Florida State, and especially their chances of getting one over on Clemson. So mark me down now. Way too early. Florida State 10-2, beating Clemson.
Can I give you the
first conclusion?
After the State of the Union, you have the counterpoint from the other party. They select somebody. I'm not a Florida State fan. I can just, through radioactive waves floating through the ether of people listening to that and projecting those waves into the I don't know if that's how radioactive waves work. I can hear Florida State fans out loud saying, Ty, we appreciate your optimism and your enthusiasm. It's awesome. You are high on some of the guys that we ourselves are high on. But Mike Norvell is sort of Sunshine State James Franklin at the end of games. We hear you, but we have a coach who is not against losing winnable games in the way he conducts his in-game strategy thinking. So that's the problem, is that Florida State could appear to be a 10-2 team-ish for stretches of games. And they're up 23-14 with 6 minutes left. There's 2 scores. They're playing well on both sides of I'm sorry, what happened? I'm sorry, how did they lose this game? There is a good amount of sample size and evidence that Florida State is willing to lose winnable games. And so,
how old do you think Mike Norvell is? You think he's older or younger than me?
No, I think he is a little bit older than you. I think he prematurely grade. So I don't know. Is he 41?
He's a month older than me.
Oh my God. Okay. He's 47 years old. He's older than I thought. He's a month older than you. Okay. Yeah. So somewhere in there.
How dare you besmirch the silver fox that is Mike Norvell? How dare you?
Yeah.
How dare you go there?
Yeah, I think they are a 7-5-ish, 8-4-ish team.
Oh, they're way better than that. Come on.
I'm telling you,
than
Ty,
that.
They will lose multiple winnable games. They already tried. Ty, they're on the record as trying to lose a winnable game.
10-2, baby.
They're on
Let's
the
go
record.
Noles.
Okay.
Here's my other one.
Keep going.
Here's my other
one.
Keep
going.
My other one is really just a pat on the back. I was right about Ohio State. I picked them to win it all. I'm not backing down. If anything, I'm doubling down.
Okay.
On it after the game that we saw. Clunker factor high in that game against Notre Dame. They were not firing on all cylinders. They were without Jackson Smith and Jigba. He has a hamstring thing, apparently.
Yeah.
Might miss a game or two. They were also without Julian Fleming, who had some shoulder issues in fall camp. I think that definitely affected CJ Stroud a little bit. He also went up against, I think, a pretty good defense.
Yeah.
In Notre Dame. So there were moments in that game where he did not look accurate. There were moments in that game where they had to adjust. And I think the adjustments are why I feel even more optimistic about Ohio State, because they needed to change their game plan on offense and switch to more of a downhill style running attack, which they did, I thought, really well, notably with Mayan Williams. And they just beat Notre Dame's brains in down the stretch. And that was how they ran out the clock and eventually got the 11-point dub. On defense, they also needed to change some things as well. And, whether it's a second half Jim Knowles thing or a second half Tommy Rees thing or both working in tandem,
sure,
who's to say? But it just felt to me like Ohio State had the flexibility in scheme to change their mind on a couple key points and eventually put that game on ice as we got into the late stages of the third quarter and all throughout the fourth. So that ability to change what they're doing, really their style, wholesale on offense, and go in a different direction to me was really telling.
But you also thought they were going to score 35, 45 points against Notre Dame.
I did.
And so they didn't do that. And so the conclusion you are jumping to is maybe without some star power at receiver, maybe because Notre Dame's defense is really good and they're not going to see a lot of defenses as good as what Notre Dame can offer, especially up front, and it was week one. It's not fully fair to say this is who Ohio State is and isn't after a week
Correct.
against what we think is a pretty good Notre Dame team. You're saying that the way in which they were down at the half, flipped things, adjusted on the fly, relying on more power rushing, and the improvement they seem to show on defense secures the variety of ways in which Ohio State, you believe, will go down as the 2022 national champion.
That is correct. And, one other point there.
Yeah.
Going into half, Notre Dame had a fair amount of momentum in that game. It felt like in the second quarter, especially, Notre Dame had done some different things schematically to, stop doing what they were doing in the first quarter and be a little bit more downhill in their approach, and it worked. It got some momentum for them.
Yeah.
Second half was a completely different ball wax, completely different. Notre Dame's momentum was pretty much up in thin air because of what Jim Knowles was doing on defense. And I really appreciate the way, I mean, not as a Notre Dame fan, but just as a college football fan, the way they were able to go in at halftime, make adjustments, come out and be a better team for it.
Well, your team is Notre Dame. Do you have a conclusion to jump to about the Irish and too soon, Tommy?
Too soon. Yeah, I mean, no, not yet.
No conclusions.
I think the defense is very solid.
Yeah.
And I knew that going in. That is not a new conclusion for me. If anything, they held down Ohio State with their secondary much better than I expected.
Sure.
And I don't know if that was a function of the defensive line getting pressure or if that was just the guys in the secondary holding their lanes, doing their part, and playing tight coverage. There were definitely moments down the stretch where guys were getting beat, starting like Cam Hart's pulling on some jerseys there to prevent against a big play. So defensively, I felt like they were as good, if not a little bit better than I expected. Offense, though, I don't know. I just
I mean, they're not going to play a defense like that basically the rest of the year, right? Other than Clemson,
It remains to be seen where the offense is at. I want to see Lorenzo Styles get the ball more outside of the first play of the game. Mm-hmm. I want to see Tyler Buckner have a chance to set his feet more and actually deliver a pass. There were a couple I think Buckner's got real potential, and I'm excited about what he can do. There were definitely moments in that game where it's like, maybe he should throw off his front foot and not his back.
Yeah.
Maybe he should throw in front of Michael Mayer and not expect a miraculous catch. I'd like to see him mature a little bit more before I draw any conclusions there.
Fair enough. I don't have any conclusions about either one of these teams. That alters what I thought about them going in. I thought they were both going to be very good to excellent, and I still think that. In the case of Ohio State, excellent, and Notre Dame, very good. I'm dumping a little bit of Ole Miss.
Yeah, me too, actually. Why for you?
I'm worried about quarterback. I'm worried that perhaps we didn't put enough respect on Matt Corral's name and enough respect on what they lost on offense, skill-wise. And I still think that, the defense was very good, and we expected it to be, even with losing DJ Durkin. That's where they've really taken a number of impressive steps forward these past couple years. But offensively, I'm willing to give them time. I'm willing to believe Lane Kiffin figures this out. But with their schedule, and with things a little bit unsettled at quarterback, and new quarterback, new offensive coordinator, a lot of new skill guys, all trying to sort of get on the same page to produce some sort of scary symphony, I'm a little bit worried, a little bit more worried than I was. Lane Kiffin is one of those guys that I generally give the benefit of the doubt. But I'm downgrading them to will always be scary on offense to they'll figure it out and be pretty good, but I don't know if it's going to be anywhere near the kind of success overall winning double-digit games like they did last year.
Yeah, what's really interesting about the Ole Miss thing to me is that, in a sense, people had jumped to conclusions back in April.
Right.
They bring over Jackson Dart. He looked the part. He's got the Anakin Skywalker thing going on. There's a vibe here. Mm-hmm. He didn't look all that good.
No.
In week
Just
one.
Off.
And, we've had some Ole Miss fans who have written in and say, Luke Altmaier is the better player. He should be the quarterback. And as we know now, Ole Miss is doing the Michigan thing.
Yeah.
Or maybe Michigan's doing the Ole Miss thing. I don't know, where they're playing both quarterbacks in the first two games. Maybe Luke Altmaier will be the guy by the time the dust settles here, but certainly in week one, you need a really good quarterback to run that system. And Jackson Dart left a lot to be desired. Zach Evans was good. The other transfer, he was really good.
Yeah, but he already was good in a Power 5 conference in a pseudo full-time role. Yeah.
That's right. So the quarterback thing, I think, definitely warrants a bit of a downgrade for Ole Miss. I don't know if I'm fully dumping the stock because I do believe that Lane Kiffin's a pretty good coach. He'll get this thing sorted out.
Oh, yeah, they'll be fine.
They'll be fine, but it's a tough schedule. It's the SEC West, and there's not a whole lot of wiggle room if you can't get that position sorted out.
I am taking my Nebraska optimism stock, and I am putting it in a cage which I'm then putting into a safe, which I'm then wrapping in barbed wire that's electrified somehow, and I am burying it underneath the Marianas Trench. Is that what it's called? The deepest
Can they go
place?
under the trench?
Where there's a will, there's a way. Lincoln, Nebraska is where losers go to lose.
Oh, wow.
Or it's where winners go to lose. It's where people who we think will be good. It is a losing place to lose.
It is
right
the
now,
college football upside down.
Yeah. It is just not a place that can be turned around at all this year and anytime soon. I am out. I am fully out. I know it's for them, their second week. Post week 1, you say, you know what? Let's crack our knuckles. Let's crack our neck. Let's crack our back and lay waste to, who'd they play? North Dakota? And they didn't for a half. Like, they could just give the ball to Anthony Grant. Just complete passes in play action. Just like, let's get going. Let's shake the cobwebs, these Irish cobwebs, these Guinness-filled cobwebs. And they didn't have that ability. Sorry if that's asking too much. I know they ran away from North Dakota in due time, but like, no, I'm out. I'm fully out of my Nebraska optimism. It is a loser place right now.
Do you think that Scott Frost or Mark Whipple or just the coaching staff at Nebraska is guilty of riding the Overthink Express?
Yeah, of course. And that it's not solvable. With the same staff cannot turn things around if philosophically they're not able to do it against North Dakota. Now, I can look at their schedule and also say like, well, there's a lot of questionable teams here. No. I believe in Iowa more than I believe in Nebraska. And Iowa just gave us the gentleman's touchdown, right? In a win against their own Dakota struggle. So I'm just out. I don't want, I did this a couple years ago with Texas where I'm just like, I don't want any, Texas might win a couple games, it might lose. I don't want to hitch any sort of brain power in the direction and onto the saddle of the Nebraska Cornhuskers. They're a waste for everybody, unless you're a Nebraska fan, maybe especially if you're a Nebraska fan, to waste any sort of emotional intelligence on this Nebraska team.
This is very brutal commentary, Dave.
I just don't want it. I don't want it.
This is really hurtful language
I like
from you
Casey
towards
Thompson.
our Nebraska brethren.
I like all sorts of players in a vacuum that are suiting up for Big Red. I think they're talented. I think they're interesting. No, it is strictly a geography thing for me that right now in Lincoln, Nebraska, within that facility, there is no hope.
Wow. Okay.
How about that?
That's a conclusion.
Yeah.
Talk about jumping in with 2 feet.
Speak with my
Good
chest.
Lord.
Sorry. Sometimes, and this is what has been true about places. Sometimes it's just the place in concert with the person running the place. And I know they have a new AD. I know, they've been making efforts on the staff and they're puking an extra amount along the offensive line, whatever. Nah. No.
Damn.
You lose that way to Northwestern, who may still be awful, by the way. We don't know. I might try to get, by the way, I think it's this week Northwestern's playing Duke, right?
Correct.
I might try to get to that tailgate. It's not terribly far away. I might try to get to that tailgate. If you see me out at the Northwestern tailgate, say what's up. I'm just washing my hands of it, Ty. Just washing my hands of it. Next.
All right. I've got Sean Clifford not being Penn State's starting quarterback by the end of the year.
So that the conclusion is that it's going to be a Drew Allar. Are we positive that's how we pronounce it? Drew Allar led team.
Drew Allar, Drew Aller, Drew Allaire. It's really in the eye of the beholder, Dan.
Yeah.
But in the very limited action, I mean, this is a Cade Klubnik situation in a sense where we saw very limited action from the backup quarterback, a highly touted freshman or highly touted, what would be a first-year starter. And he was just better.
Yeah.
He was better in all facets. He's bigger. His arm is stronger. He seemed more confident with the football. And I just keep wondering how long it's going to take James Franklin. How long is it going to take him to just pull the switch? He sees it too. If we see it, he sees it.
Yeah.
And so I'm just curious as to how long it's going to take for them to get to this stage here. It may be thrust upon him in the event of another injury to Sean Clifford. We saw He apparently had some cramps in this one. That's why he was out. That's why there was a backup situation to begin with in the game against Purdue on Thursday evening. We don't want anybody to get hurt for sure, but that's definitely part of Sean Clifford's MO at this point. It could happen. Maybe that's how we see the backup. It could just be a performance-based thing. Either way, whether it's by injury or due to Penn State losing a game at some point, I give it until Penn State's first loss before we see.
Do you think it's going to be full-time, or do you think it's going to be like, well, here comes the freshman, and Coach Franklin said we're working in some packages for him. Like, do you think it's going to be a 70-30 situation, or just a switch fully flipped?
I think it's going to be a switch.
Okay.
I think it has to be a switch because what's the skill? Like, if it's a Jaden Daniels, Garrett Nussmeier situation, okay, Jaden Daniels likes to run the ball more, right?
Yeah.
He's going to give them more in that capacity. But these players are close enough in terms of what they provide that I can't imagine there'd be a package type deal where you want to go to one 30% of the time and the other 70%. Doesn't seem like that would make a whole lot of logical sense to me. Even like with Buckner last year versus Jack Cohn. Buckner was exclusively the running quarterback, which drove me crazy, but he certainly gave them a different look, something else out there that the defense had to scheme around, or at least think about. But these two skill sets are compatible enough that I just don't see it. I think he makes the move. I think he should do it sooner than later because the backup in this case is better than the starter.
Yeah. I'm out on Kansas State in the way that I was.
What?
In the way that I was in.
Whoa. You can't just drop it's one thing to use the hurtful
I know.
language that you did about Nebraska, a team, by the way, that you were pretty high on when we did the previews.
Yeah.
But it's another altogether to break up with the purple people eaters.
Yeah, well, guess where Adrian Martinez transferred in? The loser place where losers go to lose.
So this
I'm not in. You win a game 30-0 against South Dakota, and you can't throw the ball at all? Nah.
This is really a Nebraska thing for you, isn't it?
I guess. But it's also just show me something against. If I'm going to believe in you as a potential Big 12 threat, you got to be able to throw the ball against South Dakota. Sorry. They're going to improve. They're going to get better. They're going to have really strong looking games. But it also just tells me what they're capable of. It tells me what they're capable of against Oklahoma State, against Baylor, against Oklahoma. And I'm just out on it. I am out on Kansas State in that regard. Still go 8-4, 9-3 or something like that. But I am not taking them fully seriously after what they were not able to prove against South Dakota through the air.
Damn. Okay.
I'm going to stay spicy, Ty. I'm out on Oregon 2022. As a whole.
Your own team.
My own team. I'm out.
They played maybe the best team in college football in week 1. They got throttled. They did not look good. Bo Nix did not.
I know.
No, did not look good. But you're out that quickly.
I think they'll win the games. I think they're going to go to a bowl. I think they're going to figure out a lot of things. But I am always looking, especially with my team, I am always looking to say, interesting decision. They probably know something. They probably have a plan. They're probably going to figure something out. And I thought that about Bo Nix, who I've been out on basically since day one. Very open about being out on Bo Nix.
Yeah, you have not been a Bo Nix apologist in any sense.
I think Dan Lanning will do very good things in Eugene. My Dan Lanning opinion is unchanged. But man, if he wasn't involved in that defensive game plan, I think he's going to be involved in more game plans moving forward. Okay? Georgia's way better. We get all that. And there was a lot of conversation about it's just different down here. Georgia is, they're built different and they've had so much time to. This is a very talented Oregon roster. This is not Georgia beating up on Oregon State. It's not Georgia beating up on North Carolina. It's not Georgia beating up on Rutgers. I don't know why I'm lumping all those teams together, but you understand what I'm saying. This is not a roster that should lose to anybody by 46 points. Now, it's a new coach. I understand things are new. But the decision to go after Bo Nix, what if they just went after Keaton Slovis? Still probably lose that game by 35 points or something like that. But there's something there. And then seeing his comments afterward Again, I think Dan Lanning's going to do good things. Seeing his comments out, we just need Bo Nix to play within the rhythms of the offense. We just need to see that's not who Bo Nix has ever been.
What does that even mean?
We need Bo, it's just a turnover thing. We just need, when he was doing things, that's not who he's ever been consistently. You'll get that Arkansas game last year. You'll get the, Ole Miss game, whatever. But most of the time, Bo Nix is just sort of doing his own thing. And so to see that comment, and the backup quarterbacks may be atrocious, and I understand all that. But to now go through a season with this, expecting something different in wins, in losses, whatever, I think would be foolish. I'm very excited for 2023.
Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about punting. Good Lord.
Yeah, with how there were certain plays in that game when you look back. There were certain plays.
I should just let you talk. You don't even need me for this.
I was texting with our friend Jeff Schwartz, and he was, you're Mr. PFF now. You have $80. We're so proud of you. He said Justin Flo, the starting inside linebacker, 5-star guy that Georgia definitely wanted badly, finished with a grade of 23. So there are certain things where it's just he wasn't prepared to play in that game at all. And you see some of the replays about, the secondary getting absolutely obliterated in the run game by Georgia receivers. You're just what was the preparation like? What was the plan here? And I just think it's going to take time to get this team to a place. Again, it's Georgia, but this is Oregon. Oregon's been to 2 national championships in the last 12 years. Oregon's recruited a top 10, 12, 15 program for the past few years under Mario Cristobal. Haven't found a quarterback. But again, if I'm going to say things I don't see it getting figured out in season about other teams, I don't see it getting fully figured out in season for Oregon. How about that?
I'm spicy!
Yeah, baby. Yeah, give me that spice. I like it.
That's all.
Right.
They're going to win games. They've got Eastern Washington. I think they're going to be very competitive against Eastern Washington this weekend.
They're going to win games. They have Eastern Washington.
But all of a sudden, BYU, Washington, Washington State, UCLA, Oregon
I got
State.
BYU over Baylor this week.
Okay.
How'd you do in your picks last week, by the way?
Terribly. But
Yeah.
so terribly, in fact, that we might be building a new altar, Ty. My Purdue lock actually almost happened. We might be building a new altar of Dan that I could once again become the surest thing in college football picking. Terribly, terribly.
Yeah. Yeah. It was not a banner week for me as well, but I feel like I learned some stuff, and we will talk about what I learned, the lessons learned, the important life skills that I think I acquired through the first week and a half. I'll call it a half.
Yeah.
Week 0 and week 1 of the 2022 college football season when we do our preview show tomorrow. So week 2 is on the docket. We've got our run of show here. We are ready. We are amped. I've got my picks together. I've got a little bit more studying to do, but I feel very confident. Very confident in how things are going to go here in week 2. It is another great week of college football. If there even was a window of opportunity last week, which is very, very sketchy at best, there is certainly less of one in week 2. I'm really excited for this week ahead, and we're going to talk about as many games as time permits on the show you hear next on our feed. Don't forget, Verballers.com is where you can get access to all of our shows a little bit early. For those of you that pick games, for those of you that just want to get an earlier flavor for what's going on in the world of college football, early access is the best way to do it because we put all of our shows out about a day early for our Patreon Verballerhood. You also get access to the Discord server, which has an awesome game day thread. People were raving about the game day thread. It's a great place. If you like having the second screen thing during your college football Saturday, if you're normally on Twitter, if you like talking to friends, what have you, come on over, join the Patreon, jump on into Discord, and hop into the game day thread.
To be clear,
it's a good time.
A thread about games happening during the day, not ESPN's show College
Correct.
Game Day.
That is correct.
Yes.
That is factually correct.
I know
yes.
I've been somewhat negative on this show, Ty, talking about Nebraska and Kansas State, Ole Miss, and obviously Oregon. Can I just say something real quick before we sign off?
It's your damn show.
Fight for glory, honors one, brighten the lights of Madison, James Madison, show your colors proud and true. We are the Dukes of JMU.
Are you going to get a Todd Centio jersey, a number 1 jersey?
I'm going to have to do some milkshake duck researching before I fully buy anybody's jersey. Or I'm going to have to look into James and Dolly Madison and their past and details a little bit more closely. But as of this moment, Dukes football. Let's roll.
All right. Don't forget that we do a live show every Thursday evening, as you said earlier, Dan, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, live on Spotify. We call it College Football Thursdays. It's a grand old time. It is not a regurgitation of the podcast. It's a whole new experience.
Thing. Yeah.
A live experience where we bring people up on stage with us. We talk college football. We're going to unpack all things from week 1. We're going to preview all things week 2. We've got fun games that we will play with the Verballerhood that shows up and wants to participate with us. Last 2 bullet points before we let you go. We've got a live show in about a month, man.
Oh, cannot wait. New York City, New York. Cannot wait. You can smell Ty's hair.
No, stop it.
Smelltieshair.com for tickets. Can't wait. Old stomping grounds. This is going to be a fun one. We're working out the concept now, but it is another unique concept, speaking of which, in the way that our Spotify show is. This is going to be a fun one. I believe it's the night before week 6 of the season.
That's right.
So it's the night before a bunch of big games, including Alabama A&M. Yeah. Big. So come on out.
Yeah.
If you're in the tri-state area, come on out. It's in Manhattan. We'll have drinks. We'll have appetizers, and we are going to get ridiculous with college football live and in person. Smelltieshair.com.
Solidverballive.com. Also applicable in this case. And last but not least, you got like 3 days to sign up to win. If you're watching the video, I've got the Michael Mayer signed helmet behind me. You got like 3 days to get in at solidgiveaway.com to enter to win the signed Michael Mayer helmet. Look, if he's not going to be a starting tight end in the NFL, dude's going to be a movie star. He got movie star looks. Wow. He's got hands of gold. Big dude. You know you want to own.
You're like 30 seconds away from talking about his glutes.
I'm not going to the glutes thing. Okay. You know that. Michael Mayer signed mini helmet, solidgiveaway.com. Dan.
Okay. Good deal.
Okay, fun show. I appreciate your honesty, your spiciness, your passion around all things college football.
Always.
And we appreciate all of yours. Please hit subscribe if you have yet to do so. Thanks for hanging with us here. Preview for week 2 coming your way tomorrow. In the meantime, for that guy over there, my good friend Dan Rubenstein, for myself, Ty Hildenbrandt, as always, stay solid.
Peace.